First contact and deception. The Zavakian ship emerged from the quantum fold with the grace of a diving bird, its biometallic hull rippling with patterns of bioluminescence that would have made Earth's deepest sea creatures envious. Admiral Krenthar stood at the command center, his crystalline eyes reflecting the blue-green marble of Earth growing larger on the main viewport. 3 centuries of interstellar diplomacy had taught the Zavakians that conquest through subterfuge was far more efficient than outright warfare. Status report on Earth's detection systems, Krenthar commanded, his translated voice carrying the artificial warmth they had perfected for first contact scenarios. His second-in-command, Division Leader Mira, brought up a holographic display of Earth's monitoring capabilities. Their detection systems are tracking us exactly as predicted, Admiral. They can see us, but only our outer shell, the diplomatic configuration. The war fleet remains perfectly cloaked in the quantum fold behind us. Mira's tendrils pulsed with subtle satisfaction. Their quantum scanning technology is at least 2 centuries behind ours. They see only what we want them to see. The humans had already detected their approach, of course. Their primitive communication channels were alive with activity, a mix of excitement, concern, and hope. It was always the same with species that had just begun to reach for the stars. They desperately wanted to believe they weren't alone in the universe, and that desperation made them vulnerable. "Begin the diplomatic broadcast," Krenthar ordered, settling into his command pod. "Let's show them exactly what they want to see." The message that beamed toward Earth was a masterpiece of psychological manipulation, refined over hundreds of first contact scenarios. It spoke of peace, of sharing knowledge, of lifting humanity into a golden age of technological advancement. The Zavakians had learned long ago that the promise of technological gifts was far more effective than threats. In a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Elena Santos stared at her quantum detection array with growing unease. Something about the alien ship's quantum signature wasn't quite right. The readings showed perfectly normal space-time distortions from their propulsion system, but there was an odd echo, a ghost in the data that shouldn't be there. "Dr. Wong," she called to her colleague, "can you look at these harmonic patterns? There's something here that doesn't match our theoretical models of quantum propulsion." Dr. James Wong crossed the lab, his expression changing from skepticism to intense focus as he studied the readings. "These secondary oscillations, they're too regular to be natural quantum fluctuations. It's almost like there's something else there," Elena finished. "Something hidden behind quantum-level camouflage." Before they could discuss it further, their secure comms lit up with an urgent message. The aliens, who called themselves the Zavakians, had requested a meeting with Earth's leaders. They wanted to establish diplomatic relations and offer humanity membership in what they called the Galactic Concordat. Over the next few weeks, as the world celebrated first contact with an advanced alien civilization, Elena and her team worked tirelessly to understand the anomalous readings. The Zavakians were everything humanity had hoped for in a first contact scenario: peaceful, advanced, and seemingly generous. They shared medical knowledge that cured several forms of cancer, provided plans for more efficient solar power collection, and promised even greater technological gifts once formal diplomatic relations were established. But Elena couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The quantum echo persisted, and as she gathered more data, a disturbing pattern emerged. The hidden quantum signature was massive, far larger than the diplomatic vessel visible to Earth's conventional sensors. When she finally presented her findings to the United Earth Defense Council, the reception was mixed. "Dr. Santos," General Chen said carefully, "are you suggesting that our alien benefactors are lying to us? That they're hiding something?" "Not something, General. An entire fleet." Elena brought up a 3-dimensional model based on her quantum detection data. These readings suggest the presence of at least 30 large vessels, all concealed behind some form of quantum camouflage. "The ship we can see is just the tip of the iceberg." The council chamber erupted in heated discussion. The Zavakians had already won over much of Earth's population with their gifts and promises. Questioning their motives now would cause panic and potentially damage humanity's chance at joining the galactic community. "We need proof," the UN Secretary-General declared. "Hard evidence that can't be explained away. Dr. Santos, you have whatever resources you need. But please, work quickly and discreetly, if you're right." "If I'm right," Elena said grimly, "we're not looking at first contact with peaceful aliens. We're looking at the advanced scouts of an invasion force." As Elena and her team raced to gather more data, the Zavakians continued their diplomatic charm offensive. They offered to host Earth's leaders aboard their ship for a grand ceremonial signing of the Concordat Agreement. The date was set for 1 month later. In her lab, Elena finally isolated the quantum frequency that would allow them to see through the Zavakian camouflage. As she prepared to test her discovery, a priority alert flashed across her screen. The Zavakians had suddenly moved up the signing ceremony. They'd wanted it to happen within 48 hours. Elena's blood ran cold. They knew. Somehow, they knew she was close to exposing them. The countdown to humanity's greatest test had begun, and they weren't ready. Her quantum scanner pinged with an urgent notification. The hidden fleet was moving. The hidden weakness. Dr. Elena Santos hadn't slept in 36 hours, but adrenaline kept her focused as she analyzed the latest quantum scans. The hidden Zavakian fleet had shifted position, forming what she recognized as a classic invasion formation from historical military studies. They weren't even trying to hide their tactical positioning anymore. They were that confident in their deception. "Look at this," she called to Dr. Wong, who was calibrating their newest quantum sensors. Their biometallic hull technology. There's something strange about its quantum structure. The lab, now operating under complete communications blackout, hummed with activity as the world's best scientists worked to understand the Zavakian technology before it was too late. They had less than 40 hours until the supposed diplomatic ceremony that Elena was now certain would mark the beginning of an invasion. Dr. Wong joined her at the holographic display, his eyes widening as he studied the data. The quantum resonance patterns, they're not random. There's a systematic variation in the hull's molecular structure. Elena nodded excitedly. Exactly. Their biometallic technology isn't just advanced, it's alive. The entire hull is one massive quantum-entangled organism. That's how they achieve their camouflage, their superior defenses, everything. But living systems have vulnerabilities. Dr. Wong mused, understanding dawning in his eyes. They have to maintain homeostasis, and they have to protect themselves from harmful resonances. Elena finished. She pulled up a new simulation. Look at these frequencies. The hull automatically dampens any quantum vibrations that could disrupt its structure. It's like an immune system, but immune systems can be overwhelmed. A new voice joined their conversation. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's leading expert in quantum biology, strode into the lab. She had been called in the moment Elena's team discovered the biological nature of Zavakian technology. Dr. Chen immediately immersed herself in the data. This is fascinating. Their hull technology is essentially a quantum-level biological computer, incredibly advanced, but still bound by the fundamental laws of biology. Every living system has frequencies that can disrupt its functions. The next 12 hours were a blur of simulations, calculations, and desperate theorizing. They discovered that the Zavakian biometallic hulls maintained their structure through a complex web of quantum entanglement. It was brilliant engineering, nearly indestructible by conventional weapons. But like any living system, it had to maintain precise internal harmony. "If we can generate the right counter-frequency," Elena explained to the hastily assembled Defense Council, "we might be able to disrupt their quantum biological cohesion. It would be like triggering a massive autoimmune response in their ship's hulls." "How long to develop this weapon?" General Chen demanded. Elena shared a look with her colleagues. "That's the problem, sir. We need to test our theories, calibrate the frequencies perfectly. We need time we don't have." The ceremony is in 24 hours, the Secretary General reminded them. If you're right about their intentions, we need a defense before then. There might be a way, Dr. Chen interjected. We've been approaching this as a weapons development problem, but we need to think like biologists. When you need to test a treatment quickly, you start small. We need a proof of concept. Elena caught on immediately. The diplomatic shuttle. They're sending a small transport to collect Earth's leaders for the ceremony. It uses the same biometallic technology as their warships. A test run, Dr. Wong nodded. If we can affect the shuttle, we know the principle works against their larger ships. The next 18 hours were the most intense of Elena's career. They converted the quantum detection array into a resonance generator, carefully calculating the frequencies that should theoretically disrupt the Zavakian biotechnology. Every simulation showed success, but computer models weren't reality. As the diplomatic shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, Elena and her team watched their instruments with bated breath. The device they'd built looked almost primitive. A collection of quantum field generators synchronized to produce a specific frequency of quantum vibration. Ready, Elena announced, her finger hovering over the activation control. The shuttle was now within range, its biometallic hull gleaming in the morning sun. Initiating quantum resonance in 3, 2, 1. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The shuttle's hull began to ripple, its perfect surface developing patterns like waves on water. The Zavakian crew immediately aborted their landing, the shuttle pulling up sharply. But not before their perfect camouflage flickered, revealing weapons emplacements that no diplomatic vessel should have. It works, Elena breathed, barely able to believe it. The resonance disrupts their quantum biological systems, but her elation was short-lived. Warning alerts flashed across their screens as the hidden Zavakian fleet began to move. They know we know, Dr. Wong said grimly. Elena nodded, already modifying the resonance calculations for capital ship scale. Then we better get ready for a fight. Send the data to all quantum research facilities worldwide. We need to scale up production of resonance generators immediately. As she worked, Elena couldn't help but smile grimly. The Zavakians had underestimated humanity's capacity to understand and adapt to new technology. They thought their biometallic quantum tech was too advanced for humans to comprehend, let alone counter. That mistake was about to cost them dearly. Preparing the counterstrike. The Zavakian fleet dropped all pretense of diplomacy as it moved into attack formation. Their massive ships, no longer hidden behind quantum camouflage, filled Earth's skies like artificial constellations. Admiral Krenthar's voice boomed across all communication channels, no longer carrying its artificial warmth. You have committed an act of aggression against a Concordat diplomatic vessel, he declared. Surrender immediately or face extinction. You have one planetary rotation to comply. In the underground facility, now serving as Earth's primary defense coordination center, Elena Santos worked frantically with her international team of scientists and engineers. The quantum resonance technology worked. They had proved that. But scaling it up to affect capital ships would require more power than any single facility could generate. We need to distribute the load, Elena explained to the gathered military leaders. Multiple resonance generators, perfectly synchronized, creating an overlapping field effect. She brought up a global map. We've identified 32 locations around the planet where we can build and power the generators. General Chen studied the map. That's a lot of ground to cover in 24 hours, Doctor. We don't have a choice, Dr. Wong interjected. A single generator isn't powerful enough to affect their larger ships. We need the combined effect. The next 18 hours transformed Earth into a hive of concentrated activity. Military transport planes carried quantum resonance components to installation sites around the globe. Scientists and engineers worked in shifts, their efforts coordinated through secure quantum channels that the Zavakians couldn't detect. In orbit, the alien fleet continued its intimidation display. Occasional energy pulses from their ships created spectacular auroras in Earth's atmosphere, a reminder of their technological superiority. But Alina and her team saw something different in those displays. Confirmation of their theories about Zavakian biometallic technology. "Look at the energy signatures," Alina pointed out to Dr. Chen. "Their hull systems are constantly maintaining quantum equilibrium. They're so focused on perfection, on maintaining absolute control over their quantum biological technology, that they never considered someone might use that precision against them." In a secure facility beneath the Indian Ocean, Dr. Aisha Patel coordinated the synchronization of the global resonance network. Each generator had to be perfectly calibrated, their frequencies aligned to create a planetary-scale quantum disruption field. One miscalculation could render the entire network ineffective. "It's like conducting a global orchestra," she explained to her team. "Every instrument must be perfectly in tune, playing exactly the right note at exactly the right time." As the deadline approached, humanity's preparation faced an unexpected challenge. The Zavakians began targeting communication satellites, methodically destroying Earth's conventional global communications network. They didn't know about the quantum channels Alina's team had developed, but the attacks revealed their strategic thinking. "They're isolating us," General Chen observed. "Standard tactical doctrine. Cut off communication before the main assault." Alina nodded grimly. "They think they're dealing with a primitive species that relies on radio waves and digital signals. They have no idea we're using quantum entanglement for our critical communications." That arrogance proved to be the Zavakians' critical weakness. So convinced were they of their technological superiority that they never considered humans could have developed practical quantum communication in secret. While they systematically destroyed satellites and communication centers, Earth's defense preparations continued undetected. With 6 hours remaining until the deadline, Dr. Wang made a crucial discovery. "The resonance effect," he explained excitedly. "It's not just disruptive, it's cascading. Once we trigger the quantum disruption in one ship, the effect will propagate through their entire fleet. Their quantum biological technology is too interconnected, too perfect in its synchronization." Alina immediately understood the implications. Their greatest strength becomes their greatest vulnerability. The very perfection they're so proud of will be their undoing. As the final hours ticked away, the 32 resonance generators were brought online one by one. Each powered up successfully, their quantum fields carefully contained to avoid detection. Earth's military forces maintained a careful show of conventional preparation, moving troops, deploying aircraft, positioning ships, all to maintain the illusion that humanity was planning a desperate last stand with traditional weapons. 1 hour before the deadline, Alina stood in the control center, watching the global map where 32 points of light represented humanity's true defense. Each generator was ready, their frequencies aligned, waiting only for the signal to activate. "All stations report ready." Dr. Patel's voice came through the quantum channel. "Synchronization is holding steady at 99.98% correlation." Alina took a deep breath, looking at the assembled leaders of Earth's defense. "Now we wait. Let them make the first move. Let them think they've won before we show them humanity's real strength." Above, the Zavakian fleet began moving into their final attack positions, their biometallic hulls gleaming with deadly purpose. They had no idea they were flying into a trap of their own making, their technological perfection about to become their downfall. The countdown to humanity's counterattack had begun. The day Earth struck back, the deadline passed without Earth's surrender. Admiral Krenthar stood on his command deck, watching the planet rotate below with what might have been mistaken for regret in his crystalline eyes. 3 centuries of successful conquests had taught the Zavakians to expect resistance, but also to expect fear. The complete calm emanating from Earth's leaders disturbed him more than he cared to admit. "Begin the assault," he commanded. "Standard conquest pattern. Target their primary military installations first." The Zavakian fleet moved with perfect coordination, their biometallic hulls pulsing with gathered energy. The first volley of quantum-enhanced weapons fire streaked toward Earth's surface, powerful enough to level mountains. Earth's conventional military forces responded exactly as expected. Missiles launched, fighter jets scrambled, ground-based energy weapons powered up. In the underground command center, Elena Santos watched the initial exchange with forced calm. The Zavakian weapons were devastating, but they were targeting predictable military installations, many of which had been evacuated days ago. All resonance generators report ready. Dr. Patel's voice came through the quantum channel. Waiting for optimal fleet positioning, Elena studied the tactical display. The Zavakian ships were spreading out in a precise geometric pattern, positioning themselves to maximize their coverage of Earth's surface. It was textbook invasion doctrine, and exactly what humanity had been counting on. Their formation is at 80% optimal spread, Dr. Wong reported, monitoring the fleet's movements. 90%, 95%. General Chen leaned forward. Dr. Santos, at your discretion. Elena watched as the final ships moved into position. The Zavakians' tactical precision, their need for perfect positioning, was about to become their undoing. Formation complete, she announced. All generators, initiate quantum resonance on my mark. Around the globe, 32 teams stood ready at their stations, each monitoring their resonance generators. The destructive display of Zavakian firepower continued above, but Earth's true defense had nothing to do with the conventional military response they were putting up for show. 3. Elena began the countdown, her finger hovering over the activation control. 2. The Zavakian fleet had settled into their final attack formation. Their ships spread in an optimal pattern that would also ensure maximum exposure to Earth's resonance field. 1. Activate. 32 quantum resonance generators powered up simultaneously, their carefully calibrated frequencies combining into a single planet-wide field of disruptive energy. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, the nearest Zavakian ships began to shimmer. On the Zavakian flagship, alarms blared as sensors detected the quantum disturbance. Unknown energy field detected. An officer reported, their voice carrying the first hint of uncertainty any human had heard from the aliens. It's affecting the hull's quantum matrix. Admiral Krenthar's command pod lit up with warning indicators. Impossible, he snarled. Their technology is primitive. They can't possibly. His words cut off as the first ship in his fleet began to lose cohesion. The biometallic hull, pride of Zavakian engineering, began to ripple and distort. The quantum biological matrix that gave their ships their power was turning against itself, the perfectly maintained harmony of its structure shattering under the influence of Earth's resonance field. The cascade effect is working, Dr. Wong reported excitedly. The disruption is spreading through their quantum-entangled systems. Elena watched in awe as ship after ship began to fail. The Zavakians' technological perfection, their absolute control over quantum biological systems, had become their greatest vulnerability. Each affected ship spread the disruption to others through their own quantum-entangled communications network. Hull integrity failing across all ships, Dr. Patel reported through the quantum channel. Their molecular cohesion is breaking down at the quantum level. In orbit, the mighty Zavakian fleet was coming apart. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds were being undone by the very perfection of their design. The biometallic hulls, unable to maintain quantum stability under the resonance field's influence, began to crystallize and shatter. Admiral Krenthar watched in horror as his fleet disintegrated around him. Full retreat, he ordered, but it was too late. The cascade effect had spread through the entire fleet. Ships attempting to flee found their quantum drives failing as the disruption spread through all their systems. From her position in the command center, Elena observed the tactical display with a mixture of relief and amazement. The Zavakian fleet, which had seemed invincible just hours ago, was now reduced to drifting fragments in Earth's orbit. All generators, maintain output, she ordered. Let's make sure they can't recover. As the last Zavakian ships succumbed to the quantum disruption, a new signal cut through all communication channels. It came from Admiral Krenthar's flagship, which was now little more than a drifting hulk. The Admiral's voice had lost all its previous arrogance. We surrender. Victory and consequences. 3 months after what became known as the quantum victory, Elena Santos stood at a podium in Oslo, accepting the Nobel Prize for Physics. The quantum resonance technology that had saved Earth was already revolutionizing human understanding of both quantum mechanics and biology. But that wasn't why she had trouble sleeping at night. In a secure facility beneath Geneva, Admiral Krenthar sat across from Earth's negotiating team, his once proud bearing diminished but not broken. The surrender of the Zavakian fleet had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. For the first time in 3 centuries, the supposed invincible conquerors had been defeated, and by a species they had dismissed as primitive. You must understand, Krenthar explained, his translator now stripped of its artificial warmth. News of our defeat is already spreading. The power balance that has maintained order in this sector of the galaxy for centuries is shifting. General Chen, now Earth's chief of interstellar defense, leaned forward. Are you suggesting that other species might see Earth as a target? No, Krenthar's crystalline eyes flickered. They will see you as saviors. The revelation that followed changed humanity's understanding of their place in the cosmos. The Zavakian Concordat had not been a peaceful federation, but an empire built on conquest and subjugation. Dozens of species had been forced into servitude, their worlds stripped of resources to fuel the Zavakians' endless expansion. Your quantum resonance technology, Krenthar continued, it doesn't just neutralize our ships. It could free every enslaved world in the Concordat. Our biometallic technology is embedded in everything. Our cities, our defense systems, our very way of life. Dr. Wang, who had joined the negotiating team, understood immediately. The enslaved worlds could use our technology to overthrow their oppressors. In the months that followed, humanity faced its first real test as a spacefaring civilization. The quantum resonance technology could liberate dozens of worlds, but it could also destabilize an entire sector of the galaxy. The power vacuum left by the Zavakians' defeat could lead to chaos, war, or worse. Elena found herself at the center of these discussions. We can't simply hand over this technology without understanding the consequences, she argued in a closed UN session. But we also can't stand by while entire civilizations remain enslaved. The solution came from an unexpected source. Dr. Patel, who had coordinated the Global Defense Network, proposed a compromise. We offer the enslaved worlds a choice, she suggested. Not just the technology to free themselves, but membership in a new kind of interstellar alliance, one built on mutual respect and cooperation, not conquest. The proposal became known as the Terra Accord. Earth would share its quantum resonance technology with enslaved worlds, but only as part of a comprehensive package that included humanitarian aid, technological exchange, and mutual defense agreements. It wasn't just liberation. It was a framework for building a stable, peaceful galactic community. 1 year after the failed invasion, the first delegations from freed worlds began arriving on Earth. They came not as supplicants or conquerors, but as equals eager to join the growing network of independent civilizations. Each brought their own technologies, their own insights, their own ways of seeing the universe. Elena watched from her lab as ships from a dozen different species entered Earth orbit, their designs as varied as their civilizations. The quantum resonance technology had evolved, improved through collaboration with scientists from other worlds. But more importantly, humanity had evolved. We thought we were defending Earth, she remarked to Dr. Wang as they observed a Centaurian ship landing at the new interstellar spaceport in Kenya. Instead, we ended up changing the galaxy. That's always been humanity's gift, he replied. We see patterns others miss, solutions others overlook. We're not perfect. Maybe that's why we're able to think outside conventional boundaries. The Zavakians, under the terms of their surrender, had been confined to their homeworld. Their vast fleet was gone, their empire dissolved. But they too were changing, forced to confront the flaws in their pursuit of technological perfection at the expense of ethical development. As Elena prepared to leave her lab that evening, a message arrived from one of the recently liberated worlds. They had found something in the ruins of a Zavakian outpost, evidence of an even older civilization that had once dominated the galaxy, a civilization that had vanished mysteriously at the height of its power. Ready for another mystery? Dr. Wong asked, reading the message over her shoulder. Elena smiled, feeling the familiar spark of scientific curiosity. Humanity had proved itself capable of not just surviving first contact, but of reshaping the galaxy for the better. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them with the same combination of intelligence, creativity, and determination that had served them so well. Always, she replied. After all, that's what we do best, solving the universe's puzzles, one quantum leap at a time.